Grafen Castle rises majestically from the misty embrace of the Black Forest, a timeless guardian of secrets and legends. Deep within the shadowy embrace of the Black Forest, surrounded by ancient trees that whispered secrets to the wind, stood Grafen Castle, a relic of Germany's medieval past. The castle, its stone towers stretching high into the heavens, seemed like a creature of myth itself, veiled in perpetual mist. For centuries, Grafen Castle had been the subject of whispered tales in nearby Winden, a sleepy hamlet nestled on the forest's edge. The villagers spoke of strange occurrences at the castle. At twilight, a haunting roar would echo through the valleys, sending shivers down the spines of those who heard it. Some claimed to see a golden-maned lion stalking the castle grounds, its luminous eyes blazing with an otherworldly light. Others said the lion wasn't a beast at all, but an enchanted guardian, bound to protect the secrets of the Grafen family until the rightful heir returned. For most, these stories were mere fireside tales, their truth buried in the sands of time. But for Clara Weiss, a historian with a thirst for adventure, the legends of Grafen Castle offered a tantalizing mystery she could not ignore. Arrival in Winden, Clara Weiss stands at the edge of the Black Forest, gazing at the imposing Grafen Castle, its ivy-covered walls and rusted gates shrouded in eerie mystery. Clara's arrival in Winden was met with curious stares and hushed conversations. The villagers, accustomed to their quiet lives, were unsettled by the sight of a young woman brimming with determination and lugging books, maps, and research tools into their tranquil hamlet. She rented a small room at the local inn, a cozy structure with low wooden beams and a hearth that seemed to crackle ceaselessly. Her first evening was spent mingling with the locals, probing them for information about the castle. At first, her inquiries were met with silence, but a few villagers, their tongues loosened by Clara's charm and the innkeeper's mulled wine, began to speak. "The castle is cursed," murmured Frau Anka, an elderly baker whose gnarled hands betrayed years of kneading dough. "The lion guards it, roaring at the sunset to keep intruders at bay." "You'd best keep away," added Herr Fischer, the cobbler. "None who've dared enter have come back." These warnings only fueled Clara's curiosity. She had spent years studying obscure legends, but none had captivated her as much as this one. That night, by the light of a single flickering candle, Clara pored over her notes. A yellowed map, borrowed from a university archive, showed the castle's approximate location deep within the Black Forest. The path was faint, marked only by time-worn footnotes scribbled in the margins. "Tomorrow," she whispered to herself, her resolve firm, "I'll find it." Inside Grafen Castle's grand hall, Clara and the golden-maned lion discover a hidden doorway behind an ancient tapestry, illuminated by rays of colored light through broken stained glass windows. The following morning dawned crisp and golden. Clara packed her satchel with essentials, her notebook, a lantern, and a family heirloom, an ornate pendant etched with an unfamiliar crest. It had been passed down through generations, and though its origin was a mystery, Clara felt it might be connected to the Grafen legend. The villagers watched warily as she set off. The cobbler muttered under his breath, "Foolish girl," while a few children waved enthusiastically, their imaginations sparked by her daring. The forest was a labyrinth of towering pines and moss-covered oaks. Sunlight filtered through the dense canopy, casting shifting patterns on the forest floor. The air smelled of damp earth and pine resin, and the only sounds were the crunch of Clara's boots on the path and the occasional trill of birdsong. After hours of navigating narrow trails and crossing streams, Clara reached a clearing. There, rising like a phantom from the earth, stood Grafen Castle. Its stone facade was weathered but resilient, adorned with creeping ivy that cascaded down its walls like green waterfalls. The gate, an imposing structure of rusted iron, bore the same crest as Clara's pendant. With a deep breath, Clara approached. The gate groaned as she pushed it open, the sound reverberating through the silent courtyard. Inside, time seemed to have stood still. Weeds sprouted from between cobblestones, a once grand fountain lay cracked and dry, and the air was heavy with the scent of decay. Clara's eyes were drawn to the intricate carvings on the castle walls, scenes of lions in regal postures, their eyes gleaming with lifelike intensity. She was so absorbed in the artwork that she almost missed the faint sound of breathing behind her. She turned slowly, her heart pounding. From the shadows emerged a lion, its golden mane catching the light. It was enormous, its amber eyes fixed on her with unnerving intelligence. Clara stood frozen, clutching her pendant. The lion took a step forward, its movements graceful yet powerful, and let out a deep, resonant roar that echoed across the courtyard. The silent guardian. The lion's roar reverberated in Clara's chest, a sound so powerful it seemed to shake the very ground beneath her feet. But as she stood there, trembling, something extraordinary happened. The lion didn't attack. Instead, it lowered its massive head, as if acknowledging her presence. You're real," Clara whispered, her voice barely audible. The lion tilted its head, studying her. It then turned and began to walk away, its tail swishing behind it. After a few steps, it paused and glanced back, as though beckoning her to follow. Clara hesitated, but her curiosity overcame her fear. She followed the lion into the castle, stepping cautiously over crumbling stone and broken furniture. The interior was dark, illuminated only by shafts of light streaming through shattered windows. The lion led her to a grand hall adorned with faded tapestries depicting scenes of battle and feasting. At the far end of the hall, a massive tapestry covered the wall. The lion padded over to it and pressed its paw against a stone embedded in the floor. With a low rumble, the tapestry shifted, revealing a hidden doorway. In the underground chamber of Grafen Castle, Clara holds her glowing pendant aloft, unlocking the secrets of the cursed book on a pedestal, under the watchful gaze of the lion. Beyond the hidden door was a spiral staircase, its steps worn smooth by centuries of use. Clara descended cautiously, her lantern casting flickering shadows on the stone walls. The lion followed close behind, its footsteps eerily silent. At the bottom of the staircase lay a cavernous chamber illuminated by flickering torches. The air was thick with the scent of old parchment and wax. In the center of the room stood a pedestal holding an ancient book, its leather cover embossed with the Grafen crest. The walls of the chamber were adorned with murals. They depicted the history of the Grafen family, a proud lineage brought to ruin by betrayal and dark magic. In the final mural, a lion stood over the shattered remains of the family crest, its eyes blazing with fury. Clara approached the book, her fingers trembling as she turned its brittle pages. The text told of Graf Wilhelm, the last ruler of the Grafen line. Betrayed by a trusted advisor, Wilhelm had been cursed by a sorcerer, his soul bound to the form of a lion. The curse could only be lifted by a descendant bearing the family's pendant, the very one Clara now held. At dawn in the castle's courtyard, Graf Wilhelm kneels before Clara, restored to his human form, as the rising sun bathes the scene in golden light. Clara's mind raced as she pieced together the truth. Her great-grandmother had fled the castle during the upheaval, taking the pendant with her. That pendant, now in Clara's possession, was the key to breaking the curse. The lion stepped closer, its gaze fixed on the pendant. Clara held it up, the gem at its center catching the torchlight. A sudden gust of wind extinguished the flames, plunging the room into darkness. When the light returned, the lion was gone. In its place stood a man, tall and regal, his golden hair falling in waves over his shoulders. His eyes, the same amber as the lion's, locked onto Clara's. "Graf Wilhelm," Clara breathed. "You have freed me," he said, his voice deep and resonant. "The castle and its legacy are now yours." Epilogue. A new era. The villagers of Winden were astounded when Clara returned, accompanied by Graf Wilhelm. Over the following months, Clara dedicated herself to restoring the castle, transforming it into a museum that preserved its rich history. Though Wilhelm's physical form faded over time, his spirit remained a guiding presence in the castle. And on quiet nights, visitors swore they could hear the faint roar of a lion, a reminder of the guardian who had protected Grafen Castle for centuries.